Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishnah Shabbos, Perek Vav, Chapter 6, Mishna Gimel, Mishnah 3. I dedicate this morning's learning memory of my mother, Mr. Shlomis Rabinowitz, Shlomis Masar Yaakov Eliezer. The learning should be a schus for neshama. Okay. Lo yiseitze ish b'machar hanakuva. A woman may not go out on Shabbos wearing a needle that has a hole for threading. This is not a decorative needle. This is an actual needle, a needle that's used for sewing. Hamachar hanakuva means a needle with a hole. You need to put the thread through. Okay, she cannot go out wearing that. Why? Because it's not a jewelry. If it's not jewelry, it's not an ornament. Even though she may not be carrying it, she's wearing it. She stuck it into her garment. Nonetheless, that's not called wearing because it's not a piece of jewelry. And therefore, it's considered a masa. It's considered a burden. And she's carrying. Now, next case. Normally, a woman go out with a ring that has a seal on it, meaning it's a signet ring. Again, it's not a piece of jewelry. So although she is actually wearing it, nonetheless, that's still called carrying because it's not considered a garment. If something is not a garment, it doesn't make a difference how you're carrying it. At the end of the day, it's considered carrying. It's a burden, and therefore she may not go out with it. Next, v'loy ba'kulyar. She may not go out wearing a kulyar. A kulyar, they describe her as a circular band around her head. And it's not considered jewelry, even though it is, because most women do not go outside wearing it. Something that most women don't go outside wearing is, again, not considered a garment. It's not considered a takshin, a garment, or a piece of jewelry to be considered like part of her. It's a burden, and therefore she cannot go out. She cannot go into public domain wearing it on Shabbos. The loy ba'kayveles. This means she cannot go wearing a spice container or a bottle of perfume. Now, why would she go wearing a bottle of perfume or a spice container? The answer is because that would take away a body odor. If she were having a body odor, the way to take it away would be for wearing this thing. So according to this opinion of the Mishnah, although it has a purpose for her, this purpose is not enough of a purpose, again, to be considered it a ornament, and therefore she may not go out wearing it. The imyatzisa, and if she did go out wearing any of the things mentioned, chayeves chatas, she will be liable to a sin offering. Divrei Rabbi Meir, the word of Meir. According to Rabbi Meir, all these things listed in the Mishnah are actually not rabbinic prohibitions, but more than that, they're Torah prohibitions. It's actual carrying, and even though again she's not carrying it in her hand, nonetheless, even wearing something that's not considered a garment or an ornament is carrying, and therefore, and this is all carrying. This is all considered carrying midaraisa according to Torah law, and therefore, were she to do it unintentionally, she'd be liable for a sin offering. Now, what's important to point out, as the Bartanura does, is that in any of these cases, for instance, let's go back to the case with the needle, okay, with the threading needle. So, what is she doing? She's not carrying it. She's wearing it in her garment. Okay, so we say that's not called carrying. That's not called wearing. It's called carrying. But even if it's carrying, in order to be considered chayav achatas, in order to be considered a Torah prohibition, you have to carry it in the way that it's considered normal to carry. It has to be carried in a normal fashion. Okay, so a needle, a sewing needle, a common way of carrying it, even during the week, is to what? Stick it into your garment. Just hold it in your hand, stick it in your garment. Mm-hmm. Therefore, number one, it's a masa. It's considered a burden. Number two, you're carrying it in a normal way, and therefore the Mishnah says she'd be liable to a sin offering, and that's not a shinoi. That's the point. The point is it's not a shinoi. The point is it's normal to carry a needle like that, and therefore, it should be chayav achatas. Now, so therefore, the first opinion of Meir is all the examples listed in the Mishnah are all chayav achatas. Should all be liable to a sin offering. Were she to do this on Shabbos unintentionally? But the Chachamim exempt from a sin offering. When we talk about that spice container and that perfume bottle, according to the Chachamim, a woman wearing these things, it's considered an ornament for her. It's the Chachamim compare this to the case we had yesterday of an amulet, right? An amulet written by a mumcha, written by an expert. An amulet, why is the person wear the amulet? For refuah, for healing purposes. So the Chachamim say the same way it's considered an ornament for a sick person to wear an amulet in order for that person to be healed. So too, for the woman who has this body odor, for her to wear that perfume or that spice container is the same thing. She's doing it for herself. She's doing it she's doing it for herself. The same way the sick person does it to be healed, she does it to take away the odor. There, the Chachamim say that according to Torah law, there is no problem wearing the spice box or the perfume bottle into the street on Shabbos. It's a taksha, it's considered like an ornament. Nonetheless, they would still agree that midrabanan she can't, because they're still afraid she'll take it off to show someone. So therefore, the Chachamim say that in the last two cases, which is the spice box and the perfume, that there we say wearing it would not be the perfume bottle rather. She would not be considered. She would not be chayav achata. She would not be liable to a sin offering if she took it out on Shabbos like that, because it's considered a ornament and therefore it's not carrying, and therefore there's no chayav chatas. There's no obligation. There's no sin offering obligation. But again, midrabanan, she may not wear it because we're afraid that she's going to take it off. And the Chachamim only disagree in these last two cases, as Mishna says specifically. The Chachamim paikrim b'kaivelas b'slucha shal palyatin, that the Chachamim exempt by these two examples. But the other examples, like the sewing needle or the signet ring, the Chachamim would agree she's chayav achatas because those would not be considered an ornament. Therefore, she's carrying in a public domain on Shabbos, where she should do it unintentionally. Should be liable for a sin offering. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.